Hi folks, my name is Mr. Kuchak and I am your art teacher. Before we begin, let me go over our class rules. We have 3 rules at Elk Lake. Be ready, be responsible, be respectful. We are ready in the art room when we come in, sit in our assigned seats, and get quiet so that we can learn about art. We are responsible in the art room when we follow directions and take care of our supplies, and we clean up any of our messes. We are respectful when we use kind words like please and thank you, and when we value other students' artwork. Supplies you will need for today's lesson. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. Hi folks, today we are going to do a little bit of cartooning. So I'm going to go over some cartoon noses and I'm going to go over some cartoon beards today. So let me flip my camera around and we'll go ahead and start drawing right away. Alright folks, so the first thing I wanted to start with were some ears. So we're going to start off with one of the simplest ears, the C ear. So if you just stick that on the side of the head, it works out pretty good. You can also add a little bit more to it. So you can do a C with a T. You can also do a C with a squiggle. And they just make it look like you can see a little bit more into the ear. We can also stretch that ear out a little bit. So if we take that ear and we make it a little bit longer, we have a little bit more of an ovally type ear. We can also do the same thing. We can do a C with a T, and we can do a big C with a little squiggle inside there too, just to make the ears stand out a little bit more. We can also do this type of ear, where it comes up, comes down and curves, and then we do a little bit of a curve inside. We can also do the reverse. So both ears work out pretty good. Now this ear, this is a special ear. So this one starts off with a G, and then we use an M with another bump. And this ear has been on TV for over 20 years now, and that is Homer Simpson's ear. So you can see the artist's name, Matt Groening. When he drew out Homer Simpson, he made sure his initials were on there. That way, if anyone else tried to copy it, he could say, hey, listen, no, this is mine. Look, my initials are drawn right on the side of Homer's head. Another thing we can do is if we have something like Frankenstein's bolts coming out, we have those come around and then we can do like little lightning bolts or like a little bit of like sparks kind of coming off those too. So those are a whole bunch of different types of ears. Feel free to use them, stick them on your characters, and let's move on to some mustaches. So this first mustache is going to start, it's almost like the number 6. It kind of comes around, that way we have the nose. And then we're going to S, and then S, and we just come right off the sides with that. You can even have it connect. And then we're going to come in and out. And so this type of mustache is called a handlebar mustache because it looks like a pair of bike handlebars upside down. Yosemite Sam has this type of mustache, and sometimes you'll see it on cowboys and stuff like that. So the next one we're going to do, we're going to start off with a C, 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 C. Once we have our CC, then we're going to go from the inner CC down around the chin and back up. And then we're going to come to the outside C. We're going to come down, around, and back up. And that's called a chin strap type beard, where it comes right around your chin. You can see that the mouth is open, the nose is open. So this is a good one to use, especially if you have someone who's very expressive too. We can also have one that starts off with U underlined, and then we do some smaller bits here, and then this type of beard is combed out really nice. So we have it kind of really spread out. That's kind of from Hagar the Horrible. He's a Viking warrior, and he's in the comics, and that way his beard kind of sticks out like that. We could also do one that starts off with a C, O, and then a C. So we have a COC. Now, this type of beard, you don't want it looking nice. You don't want it looking clean. This is like someone who's been washed up on a desert island and they haven't been able to cut or comb their beard out or take care of themselves. So we want to make sure that we kind of just wiggle across. We want one side bigger than the other. We don't want it symmetrical or neat looking. And then we just kind of come down as far as it'll go. And then we just kind of come back up. So this would be the type of beard where you might have like birds like nesting in it and that kind of stuff in your comic. This one's going to start off. We're going to do a 6, underlined, rainbow, rainbow. Once we have that one done, then this is a good one for a character. Maybe you're thinking you have it all colored in and you just think it needs a little bit more. So if you just do a zigzag line over and then you do a zigzag line down around the chin and up, it's an easy way to add a beard to a character without having to draw a whole lot of different lines. And it stays within the face too. So it's just basically a zigzag type beard. It just adds a little bit to your characters. This one's going to be greater than or equal to. And then once we have kind of the nose and that, then we're going to do what's called a pencil mustache. So if you went to a fancy French restaurant and the waiter had a small little pencil mustache like that, then you would be able to draw that in. Or we can do one like this, and we can do it kind of like Salvador Dali's, where he had one of those really big fancy mustaches. He would put wax in it and have it really stretched out and curved. We can also do what I like to call a janitor mustache. So we have the nose in, and then we cloud right around. And so that's a good little mustache to do too. And then we have a few more to do. So we're going to start off with C, U, C, underlined. Once we've done our C, U, C underlined, then we're going to do a goatee. So we're going to show where it ends, and then we just fill in between. That way we have our goatee started. Our next one, C, U, C, underlined, underlined. This one you'll see in a lot of different cartoons, especially for like bank robbers or bad guys in there. It's called the 5 o'clock shadow. So it's when someone has not shaved all day and it makes it look like they need to. They look a little scruffy in there. So if you just take your Sharpie and just tap that in there, or even your pencil, just add some dots inside there, it makes it look like they need to shave. We can also do, let me do this one over here, C, U, C, and then we do a diamond. So this is just kind of like a shaped goatee where it has a little bit more kind of going on in there. And then the last one that we're going to do, C, U, C, underlined. This one's going to start off right up here at the top, and then we'll go around and we'll say that that's like a Santa beard. It's nice and big and filled in. So what you have here is you have a great set of different types of beards, really simple to add in, but it will make your characters unique, especially if you have a character who maybe has a disguise or is trying to wear, you know, to blend in, or if you just want a character with a beard to be in your story. You know, you have a good bunch here to choose from. So hope you had good luck with these, and have a great night. All right, folks, so we're going to start off with some guy hairstyles first. The first one that we're going to start off with starts off with a little bit of a smiley, and then we do a C. So a smiley C. And then we're just going to add some lines. We're going to have some lines come down. We're going to have some lines go above the C. This way, it kind of looks like they're going bald, where in this part there's no hair, and then they have a little bit of hair there. The next one that we're going to do is a rainbow C. So we're going to do a big rainbow, a big C in there so that we have the ear. And then we're going to do some little curved lines above the ear. This way it looks like they're mostly bald and they have a little bit of hair there. The next one that we're going to do, this one's going to start off kind of like the number 5. So we come down and it curves. And then we're going to put a C in there for the ear too. Once we have that done, we're going to add some spikes. This way we kind of have like a mohawk type hairstyle. The next one that we're going to do is going to start off kind of similar. We're going to start off with a curve and a curve. Once we have our curve and our curve, we're going to add the ear. And then the spikes are going to be a lot shorter. So we don't want them super tall. We just want a few spikes coming up. And then we're going to use our pencil and we're going to add some kind of shave spots on there. So this is kind of like a crew cut. Some people would call it a high and tight, where the sides are in and really tight and the top is a little taller. The next one that we're going to do is a rainbow smile. So rainbow smile. C, 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 C. This way we have our ears, and we're going to just do one little line down and touch. That way we have a baby's hairstyle. Now for some of the hats that we can do with these, I'm just going to go through. I'm going to do a few underneath and then we'll switch to the next hairstyles. So the first one is a top hat. So if we take and we add a rectangle and then we add a smaller rectangle and we color it in, we have a stovepipe hat or a top hat, kind of like what Abraham Lincoln would wear. We can also change that a little bit. So if we do the same rectangle and the same rectangle on the bottom, so that gives us the same exact shape. But if we do stripes instead, then we have the Cat in the Hat hat. We can also do a bowler's hat. So we start off with a rainbow, and then we come out and C, C. So it almost looks like ears on it. And then we smile, connect. And then we can color that in. So sometimes you see it on St. Patrick's Day. You'll see it's kind of like the hat that the leprechauns would wear. Sometimes you might need a baseball hat. Now, if you remember way back when, I said when we were drawing out eyes, if I was going to draw someone wearing a baseball hat, I would just draw it exactly like that. And that's exactly how I draw it. So if you wanted stripes, if you want a team, or you want something else in there, you could always do that too. But that's the easiest way to draw a baseball hat. Now, if you have a hat kind of looking at you, we need to start with a rectangle. Once we have our rectangle, we do another rectangle, and we just add some lines in there. This is your hat band. This is a little band that would go around the hat and would hold it all together so that it wouldn't stretch out. And then we come up and down, up and down. And then we connect with a smile. I like using this for kind of like a spy. It's kind of like it's pulled down over their eyes, so then you might see their nose, you might see their mouth, you might be able to see their chin, so then they kind of look like they're looking straight at you. Another one that we can do where they're looking straight at us is a little bit more of a J. So it's almost like a fish hook. And then we come down, curve, and up. So it's like a big Nike swoosh. We add our hat band. I like to add a little design inside there. And then we come out, come out. So we come out diagonally, and then we're going to kind of meet in the middle. So I come up halfway, and then I come up the other half. And that gives me kind of like a good cowboy hat. So, you know, if I had somebody with like their nose and their mouth, they weren't happy. And we could do like their shoulders in there, and maybe they have a poncho or something like that on there, kind of like Clint Eastwood. The next one that we're going to do, this one is a circle. And then there's a C inside. Let me just do a little squiggle. That way if you have somebody out in outer space and they need a helmet, you have it. We can also do a hat that is kind of like busted up. So when we did our beards, we talked about someone, you know, who was washed up on a deserted island. So we can kind of do that here. So if you think of this hat here, where it's all nice and straight and clean and looks nice, this hat is not going to look that way. So we're going to start off with like a bump, and then we're going to make a lump. So it does not have to look too nice. We come down a tiny little bit, and that's the only nice part of the hat. So that's where the hat band's going to go. That's the only part holding that whole hat together. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a design in there. And then the bottom, we want it all kind of like beat up and busted and like all over the place. So I just kind of wiggle my pencil a little bit as I draw. And then that way it could look like someone fell overboard when they were fishing, and now their hat is ruined and they are soaking wet. One of the other things you can do is, if you start off just going around in a circle and making some little points. And then we do a rectangle, and we come up, and that way we have a Santa hat. We can also kind of do like a wizard's type hat, where if we do an A and a smile, that'll make it look rounded. You don't want to do straight. You want it to look like it's fitting on his head. And then you can do some stars, maybe do a moon on there, and then that way you can kind of have a hat like that. We also have some other sports ones that we can do. So with these, I pretty much start them all off almost looking like a shoe. So they kind of look like that. So I'm going to do 4 different ones. And so I'm basically doing an L, and I'm curving around and back. If it looks like a shoe, you did it right. Now, let's say I had these all drawn out and I want to make each one a little unique. So the first thing that I'm going to do then is think about what sport I want to do. So let's say I'm going to do football. I can do a circle, I can add the face mask part of it, and then I have my helmet. I can also use that same shape if I have a football player. Maybe he needs spikes, and I just squiggle some laces in there. So then that way they have something on their feet too, if you can see them in your comic. The next one that I'm going to do is, let's say it's boxing. So you have a little bit of a boxer's helmet inside there, and then either a boxer or a wrestler, sometimes they wear those really tall boots, and sometimes they're a little bit fancier on the side, and then they lace up. This one here, we can do hockey. So if we do kind of like the glass part on there, we can open up the ear part too, and then they're probably going to need a set of skates. So we do that same foot, and we just come down, and we draw that out too. And the last one will be, let's say it's baseball. So we have a batter's helmet, and then we just need some lower spikes. So then we just do some smaller spikes, and we add those on there. That way you have a baseball player. There's other ones that we're going to do, other hats, but we're going to save that for some of them with some of the women's ones. So let me switch to another piece of paper. I will be right back, and we'll do the girls. Okay, so with this one, we are going to start off with the first hairstyle. So just like we did with the guys, it's going to start off with a slight curve, and then we're going to do a C. This one we're going to add a little earring so that we know that these are our ladies' hairstyles. I understand guys wear earrings, but just so that we don't have to write boy and girl underneath each one, we're just going to add that little dot to save us some writing. And then we're going to add a couple little lines there. And then, like a question mark, we come around and we curve in and down. Then we add just a few lines. That way it looks like her hair is pulled back and it's maybe in a clip, or she's got her hair up on the top of her head a little bit more. The next one's going to start with our rainbow and a CC. That way we have the ear. We'll do some hair here for bangs. And then we're going to say this is a ponytail. So we're going to say that we need a little bit of a scrunchie or something back here to hold in all the hair. And then we come up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. That way we have all of the hair in place. This next one is one of my favorite ones to do. So a C with a dot, and in this one, the trick is do not pick up your pencil or Sharpie or whatever you're using to draw. You want to keep it moving so that it is curly hair, kind of like a perm. So then that way you have a little bit curlier hair. This one, we're going to do a smile and a CC, CC. This way we have the face with the hair. And this one we're going to do kind of like a curl, but it's going to be more springy. So what you want to do is start here and do bigger curls. I always like to call this the grandma hair style, like the grandma perm. So my grandmother had hair like that, so I like to draw that one out. So once we have a couple hairstyles, so you know, sometimes you might need hats, and these are going to be really fancy hats. They're going to have feathers, they're going to have stuff in them. So our first one is going to start with a triangle. Once we have the triangle, then we come in a little bit, we go up, over, down, and we color that in. Remember, a lot of these are taken too from older comics or things that were in the newspaper, so they're going to have some contrast in there, and contrast just means the difference between black and white. So if there's a white spot, then there might be a black spot in there just to set it off a little bit more. And then we go up, over, down. Now this type of hat is going to have a big fancy feather coming out. So then we just curl right around. The next hat is going to start with an oval that doesn't touch. So it almost touches, but it doesn't. And then we curve in and smile. Now this type of hat, this is great for like a sun hat. It's also great for a cowgirl's hat. So if we do a little bit of a curve there, now we have the top part of the hat. And then we need like the letter S. We're going to come out, around, and back. And then that way it looks kind of like a cowgirl's hat. You can even add another little line there to kind of finish it up. But you can always leave it that way just to make it look like it's a little floppy. If you have a hat that's a little squished, you can do a zigzag and then maybe like a flower. Everyone likes to say like that's like a Mary Poppins type hat. From Looney Tunes, the little old lady who has Tweety. This type of hat starts off with a rectangle, and I'm just going to add a little design inside there. And then the bottom kind of curves out a little bit. So we curve out, and we curve out, and then we're going to smile, 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 smile. And this one's going to have a hat pin. So a hat pin was a pin pin that would go through and hold your hair in place. If you spend all that time putting your hair up underneath there, you don't want the wind to blow your hat off. And that's why the little old lady who owns Tweety Bird will sometimes poke Sylvester with her hat pin. And they were always like pretty fancy inside there, so that's what that part is. The other ones that we have, you know, think of like Halloween type ones. If we start off with a triangle and a line, you know, you might have one that you might have a witch character, or, you know, if you have a broken hat like that, you start off with kind of a check mark, and then we come up and down, and then we do our line, so then you can kind of have a broken hat like that too. And that's pretty much our hats and our hair. Once again, if you want to do like your own hairstyle, I'll tell people a lot of times, you know, draw it the way that you comb it. You know, if you have a character looking at you, and we have their eyes, nose, mouth, and you want to do something like a ponytail, you know, think about pulling the hair back, and then you do, you know, a scrunchie, and then you can have like the hair touching in there too. You know, if there's two, just come off on the sides. If the hair is coming down over their face, you know, have the hair come down. Draw it the way that you would comb it. So if the hair comes down that way, you can always do that too. A lot of different ways that you can do hairstyles. These were just a few to get you started with your characters. So go ahead, you can add any of these hairstyles and hats and anything like that to your characters to kind of make them stand out and make them unique. So have a great night, good luck with this, and I hope you do really well with it.